Hi, it's Kai. Number 7. Dancing Plague of 1518. In Strasbourg, in 1518, then part of the Holy Roman Empire in modern-day France, a woman named Frey Traffay began to dance in the street. She twisted, turned, and shook for an entire week. Medically, she should have died from exhaustion in the first 3 days. She somehow kept going, and one theory suggests she might have kept dancing even after she died. Eventually, dozens of other people began to join her in her non-stop dance. Physicians at that time blamed the dancing on hot blood. They said that the dancers had to keep going in order to chase away the fever. A stage was even built and places cleared for the dancers to use. Musicians were even hired to encourage the dancers to keep going. Unfortunately, the doctors of that time were wrong. By August of that year, over 400 people had danced themselves to death. They died from exhaustion, strokes, or heart attacks. A legend at that time stated that if anyone angered Saint Vitus, a Christian martyr who eventually became known as the patron saint of not only dancers, but entertainers as a whole, he would inflict people with uncontrollable dancing. Saint Vitus's dance is a real neurological disease, also known as Syndam's chorea, that occurs in children and teenagers, causing uncoordinated movements of the hands, face, and feet. However, the dancing plague of 1518 appears to be on a whole other level. The 1518 outbreak of dancing was not the only one to occur in history. The earliest known one happened in the 7th century, disturbing a Christmas Eve service. Several others occurred in the 13th and 14th centuries in Germany, France, and Holland. A monk even danced himself to death during the 15th century. To this day, people are still trying to understand how and why this could have happened. One possible theory thinks that outbreaks of ergotism were the root cause of the problem. Ergotism occurs when people eat bread laced with a mold called ergot, which can cause hallucinations and convulsions. The Salem witch trials have been blamed on a mix of mass hysteria and ergotism. However, one man, named John Waller, blames the dancing plague on stress-induced psychosis. According to Waller, the disease, famine, natural disasters, and imagined fears of the time could cause mass psychogenic illnesses. In this instance, it caused people to dance themselves to death. But whether or not that's really what happened is anyone's best guess. Imagine something like this happening today. Number 6. The Zimbabwe alien invasion. In 1994, a school in the small town of Rua in Zimbabwe experienced an alien invasion. Yes. 62 students reported seeing an unidentified flying object before a strange being communicated with them. These children were between the ages of 8 and 12. They were outside playing during a morning break when it happened. A silver craft came out of nowhere, dropped down into the wooded area behind the school, and a creature came out and wandered over to the children. The creature was apparently dressed in all black and had huge eyes. According to the kids, the alien warned them that they needed to take care of the planet. That was the message. It wasn't anything political and not about something going on in the universe. The alien literally just said that the children needed to take better care of our planet. Scared, most of them ran away screaming back to their teachers. By the time the teachers took any kind of interest, the alien and the spaceship were gone. After the incident, the children were asked to draw pictures of what they had seen, independently. Each child drew a picture by themselves with no suggestions from friends, and they all drew very similar pictures. Harvard professor of psychiatry John E. Mack visited the school in 1994 and filmed his interviews with the kids. It was at that point clear that the children were telling the truth. They had indeed been visited by an alien. It's important to note that after the Harvard professor began investigating this incident, he was put under extreme scrutiny by the school, ignored by his colleagues, and essentially discredited as a complete hack. Number 5. Monolith in the front yard. A mysterious monolith appeared in Bill Anderson's front yard in Washington, D.C., and he has absolutely no clue how it got there. Do you remember these mysterious monoliths from earlier in 2020, with the first one appearing in the Utah desert and then another one appearing not long after in Romania, along with a few other mysterious monoliths being installed across the world? Well, now there's one in D.C., but it wasn't put in a random plot of land out in the wilderness. It was stuck into Bill Anderson's front lawn in a quiet little neighborhood of Hillcrest. Even more shocking is that the silver object appeared while he was out. He and his family were out for a stroll, which means the monolith had to be installed pretty quickly. Bill walked out his front door with his family and they went for a walk around the block because it was a beautiful day. And when they got back, there was a giant metal monolith installed in their front yard, just a few feet from their front door. Bill was distraught, as you can imagine. He asked his neighbors, but they hadn't seen anything. Even crazier is that nothing was spotted on Bill's security cameras because somehow the batteries all died just seconds before the monolith was installed. Highly suspicious, if you ask me. In a local interview, Bill joked that it could have been aliens that put the thing in his front yard for unknown reasons. And even though he said it as a joke, the bizarre details surrounding how it got into his yard makes you wonder if there isn't some truth to the theory. How would you feel if your yard was chosen by someone or something? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 4, Dyatlov Pass Incident. An adventure mystery 60 years old has prompted numerous conspiracy theories. Soviet military experiments, Yetis, and even extraterrestrial contact may have its best, most sensible explanation yet. One found in a series of avalanche simulations based in part on a car crash experiment and animation used in the movie Frozen. In February of 1959, 9 Soviet hikers, led by 25-year-old Igor Dyatlov, mounted an expedition into the Ural Mountains. Their goal was to reach Mount Orienten from a small settlement called Vizhai. This wasn't their first rodeo, first trip for such a group. They were used to each other and they worked as a harmonious team even under the most stressful conditions. But only one of them would be seen alive again. When they failed to return, a search party traveled by helicopter to the slopes of Mount Orienten. There they discovered the expedition's tent, intact except for a single rip in the side, as well as most of the team's gear and equipment. The search team spread out and began to look for all the bodies. They were able to find a few, but the others would have to wait until the winter passed and the weather was better. Before spring came and thawed the leftover snow, investigators analyzed diaries of the crew and camera film. The last picture taken by the camera was only a blur and contained no hint of what that person was trying to photograph. Months later, when the snow thawed, they found the remaining bodies. Investigators were shocked to discover that 3 of them sustained life-threatening, blunt force trauma, and that some of the clothing was radioactive. Some of the injuries included a small crack in a victim's skull, severe chest trauma, missing eyes and tongues, one even missing their eyebrows, and more. It was insane. Relatives of the deceased later claimed that the corpses were orange with gray hair. The case was closed, and the cause of death was put down as a compelling natural force. More than a little suspicious. Soon after, however, reports surfaced that at the same time the team was dying on the mountain, strange lights were being seen by locals. There's a theory that a natural phenomenon known as the infrasound-induced panic may have been responsible. Wind coming into contact with topographic features can produce low-frequency waves in an audible to subaudible range. Tests of infrasound on subjects have induced powerful feelings of nausea, panic, dread, chills, nervousness, rapid heartbeat, and difficulties breathing, which could explain a few of the injuries. Perhaps the men began feeling the effects of panic and were sent into a frenzy. However, this does not explain the strange lights that locals saw, the radioactive clothing, or the strange, blurry photograph. And to make the mystery even more chilling, the mountain's name, Orienten, in the local Mansi language means "don't go there." Could this have been an omen to warn against whatever the expedition team encountered? We still don't know to this day. Number 3. Animals encased in stone. In 1821, Tilloch's Philosophical Magazine, one of the oldest scientific journals that was published in England, carried an unusual item. A stonemason named David Virtue, who made an astonishing discovery while working on a large chunk of rock that had come from about 22 feet below the surface. After breaking it open, he found a small lizard encased within the stone. It was entangled in a round cavity it formed after being embedded in the stone for so long. It left a perfect impression of the lizard when it was alive. The reptile itself was a little over an inch long, with a round head and had sparkling, protruding eyes. It was a brownish-yellow color and appeared to be dead on discovery. It was lifted from its stone prison, and after about 5 minutes or so, it miraculously began to breathe and show signs of life. Pretty soon it was running around. There are numerous documented accounts of such findings, mostly involving frogs, toads, or lizards, amphibious or reptilian creatures in nature. Most often the animals come out alive, and very often there is an imprint of their skin or shape on the cavity in which they were imprisoned. Another example of this happened in South Africa around 1876, when a timberman was cutting down a tree to turn into planks. After it fell, he noticed a hole that went deep inside the tree, containing 68 toads. Granted, they were all about the size of a grape, but still, there were 68 of them. There was no way for the toads to have gotten food, water, or oxygen within the part of the tree they were trapped in. So scientists are still baffled by their historic discovery. We have no idea how long the toads were in there. And this raises a number of interesting questions. How could the animal have gotten in there and survived? How did the rock, which geology tells us takes hundreds if not thousands of years to form, take shape around the animal? How did 68 tiny little toads live inside a completely solid wooden tree with no access to the outside? How long could the animals have been in there? What the heck? Number 2. Tunguska Event. On June 30th, 1908, a large fireball rocketed across the Siberian sky near the Podkaimena Tunguska River. Moments later, an explosion 6 miles above the ground flattened 18 million trees and left charred reindeer and other animal carcasses. The blast, which had the strength of 185 Hiroshima bombs, lit up the night sky and was seen and felt as far away as the United States and Britain. They estimate that about 3 people died in the blast, but no one knows the true number. One native of the area, living about 40 miles from the epicenter, claimed he felt the earth tremble and heard the sound of stones falling after the blast occurred. Ever since, scientists have tried investigating the Tunguska event, relying mainly on damage assessments and geological studies to gather clues. Italian scientists claim that there were 2 meteors. One exploded while the other hit the ground, forming Lake Kekau. Russian geologists, however, disagree. After taking soil samples from the bottom of the lake, Russian geologists have found that the lake is much older than the Tunguska event itself. Pieces of rock found in other parts of Siberia have been determined to be from meteors, but no one knows if they came from the one found in Tunguska. Scientists are torn over whether it was a comet or a fragile meteor, so the event remains a mystery. Locals, however, believe it was a visitation by the god Ogdi, who cursed the area. Whatever it was, the Tunguska event has been classified as an impact event despite no crater ever being found. The object that made the impact spot is thought to have disintegrated into the Earth's atmosphere before reaching the surface. Either way, Tunguska is known as the largest impact event in Earth's recorded history. Number 1. Noises in Windsor. There are several well-known mysterious sounds in the world. For example, New Mexico's Taos hum, which is a mysterious humming noise that appeared over 30 years ago in the desert of Taos. But another mysterious hum has plagued residents in Windsor, Ontario since 2011. Not everyone hears it, and even those who do, don't all describe it in the same way. Some say it's like a running refrigerator or an idling big truck. For years, residents heard it and complained about it, but local police couldn't help, and no one was sure of its origin. The sound is usually only heard when the weather is cool and a light breeze is blowing, which typically occurs early in the morning. The Canadian government conducted several investigations to figure out what was causing this mysterious sound. Finally, in May 2018, a study confirmed for the first time that the hum is real and not an auditory illusion. The study conclusively identified the source of the sound: Michigan's Zug Island across the Detroit River, the site of heavy manufacturing, including a U.S. steel plant. Though it's clear that the hum is mechanical in nature and coming from the island, scientists haven't been able to locate a specific building or piece of heavy machinery that's causing it. Though the infernal Windsor hum remains, nearby residents can sleep a little easier knowing it's not all in their heads. Or is it? Thanks for watching. Have you experienced any of these mysterious events? Which one of these did you find the most interesting? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!